the market pays for value. The more valuable that you become, the more the marketplace is going to reward you for essentially becoming more valuable. And as we kind of illustrated yesterday on the whiteboard, or was it yesterday or 2 days ago, as we illustrated on the whiteboard, we went through how to pick a niche, how to hire a production team, and how to get content out there that the market values, and do it in a way that's entertaining and educational, that ultimately gets it so you can make a ton of money pretty quickly, or at least get to where you're making the first $10,000-$30,000 a month. So the main thing I think a lot of people, they get kind of stuck on is how to learn, where to learn from, where are you getting your information from, and then also how to actually apply the knowledge into the real world. And I think some people get a lot of loss in between. So either, first of all, people are getting the information from the wrong place and they're not able to they try to go apply it and it's just not good information. A good example of this is you go into work, you're like, hey guys, I want to start a business. You tell all your coworkers this. Worst freaking decision that you guys could ever have is to go try to tell everybody that, yeah, I'm trying to start a business, because then you're going to get all sort of beliefs on you. You're going to get all sorts of weird ass information, and you're not going to get anywhere, especially if you're not in a culture or an environment where everybody else is starting businesses. So your place of work, where you work at, is probably one of the worst places to get information. So you want to be strategic about this. So when it comes to the source of your information, this is the one question that I have you guys give value to. Maybe let's say let's say you're trying to start, let's say like a tea brand or something like that, or like one of those adaptogen drinks that's like popping right now. There's two different types of people you can go get this adaptogen advice from. Maybe three. Either you can go ask your parents or your coworkers, be like, hey guys, how do I start an adaptogen brand? Maybe they might know somebody that's tried to sell a beverage before. Maybe they've tried it in the past themselves. But the main question is have they done what you're trying to do before, and have they ever had success in business? So anytime I go to someone for advice, I have this kind of filter in the back of my head immediately. I've gotten really attuned to okay, what does this person provide to me? Is it worth my time? Is it worth hearing them out? Is it worth listening to? If somebody has never started one of these, if someone's never built a successful business, if someone's never gotten to millions of dollars a year, you definitely shouldn't take advice from them. Especially if it's on financial advice. Maybe they have a really successful relationships. Maybe they have a really successful family life. Maybe they have a really awesome bod. And maybe, that's them. But if they don't have successful business advice, or they've never had success in business, then they're not the person to get advice from in that category. Like I said, they may be better for other categories. And so for me, I know you guys come to me because you guys know that I give you the most real information, is you want to find the people that have, like I said, done what you were trying to do, and if they had success with it, especially on a rinse and repeat fashion. If they have not had success with it over and over again, then they're probably not a good person to get that information from. So first of all, have they been where you want to be? And then the second thing you want to ask yourself is, with this information, is have they had success in business? And then also, have they had success specifically in, let's say, selling adaptogen drinks? This is like Jay Shetty is a guy that runs a very successful podcast, So maybe what I would do is, if I wanted to drop one of these, I would go to Jay Shetty, or I would go to other people that have had success in the industry, and I would do whatever I could to either work underneath that person, intern for them for free, or see if I can position myself in a way into a relationship with them of them giving me exact information of what they have. Like, I was just talking to one of my friends who was out visiting. You may be watching this right now, but I was out one of my friends came and visited he's been traveling to Colombia, New Jersey, and all these places, and he ended up meeting up with one of the guys that places products into Walmart. I can't remember what exactly it was. It was basically super high up in the distribution world and getting products distributed. And so now he's starting to think, okay, what are products that I can distribute? And he's this guy just loves him. He views him as a little son. And so because he built this relationship, now he can come up with different products, and he can go and launch, if he wanted to launch some sort of product out there, he has that relationship, he has that connection, and that is the perfect mentor to go to, of somebody that's already launched products that have had success, making tens of millions of dollars online, or making tens of millions of dollars in store, like a Target or a Walmart or whatever distribution that is out there. And so those are the people that you want to go to, is where are you learning this advice from? So the best sources is either someone that's in real life that has already done this right now, that is exactly where you want to be, or secondarily, you're getting this knowledge from books or videos or podcasts from these people if you can't get in direct contact with these people. So always ask yourself, who is this person that has been where I want to be, so that way you can go and apply that immediately. And then the next thing you want to do is, I see a lot of people, they go and, you know, they get this information, they're like, okay, cool, I learned this thing, like you guys are watching this video right now, cool, I learned this thing, and then they just go fucking move on with their life. I think that's one of the biggest issues majority of people have, is they just get the information and then they just go fuck off. They just go disappear without ever like actually applying the knowledge. Applied knowledge is always going to be significantly more effective than the person that just takes knowledge, takes it in, and then never does anything with it. So one thing that I recommend that you guys do is, after this video, to give you guys literal sauce on like how to go and like, you know, here's the information and then how to apply, is take what I'm teaching you inside of here, whether it be like, let's say a quote, whether it be something that I taught in here, and go write it down and post it on Twitter, or go tell somebody that else is interested in the business. Take that information and share it out to somebody else. And as soon as you go and teach somebody else, it helps you selfishly retain the information better. So every time I read a new book, like right now I'm reading the book Hustle Harder by 50 Cent, or James Curtis. And I was on a run this morning reading that book, listening to it, and then as soon as I'm done reading it, or as soon as I get through a point or a chapter, I go and try to teach somebody that concept or that topic. And so you want to apply the knowledge that you just learned as fast as you possibly can. Or if you have a business or you already have things going and you have to get that information so you can move forward, go get the information and then go apply the information immediately. Applied knowledge is always going to far succeed someone that just has a bunch of knowledge that they never use it. It's like going to the gym, getting super jacked and ripped, and then only ever working out and not ever having something to work towards. Now, if you have like a triathlon or a marathon that you're training for, or maybe you have a competition that you have coming, or maybe you're an athlete and you have, you know, a sporting event, it's like now that whole training and that application and getting stronger, it has a purpose and something to work towards and why you're working out. So same with knowledge. It's like you want to make sure that it's like you have a business or something that you're applying it to. Otherwise, the human brain just doesn't know what to do with this information, or it's just you're building useless skills. And so you want to have a goal or a reason or something for why you are doing this thing. Otherwise, you're going to burn out pretty quickly if you have no sort of, you're just like, yeah, I'm just doing this thing. So you want to make sure that, you know, you're learning from a great source, and then that you're executing it as soon as you possibly can. And then the last thing is how to get the market to know your worth. And this is, I would say, by far one of the hardest parts. And I would say it's the difference of the people that, you know, maybe are able to have a one-hit wonder, maybe make a few grand or something like that, versus the people that are able to scale consistently, hitting hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, and being able to constantly grow their life and grow their career, because they're able to, you know, they're able to have two sides of them. Like when I'm reading this book by 50 Cent, is he had 50 Cent, who was the guy that was like the hustle mindset of, you know, becoming a great rapper, and then also, and he even admits himself, he wasn't one of the best rappers. He was actually just more consistent and would show up more aggressively than anybody else consistently. And, you know, he would have this whole persona where it was like he would go and be this brand and be this person that was out there. And then he would also have himself, James Curtis, and he would go and apply it. I feel like I'm saying his name wrong. Let me just make sure that I'm getting the facts straight. So James Curtis James. So Curtis James Jackson. So he would have that side of him that was the actual person that's like making sure that his head was on straight, that he wasn't, you know, that was kind of the person that was level-headed, that was able to get things done, and making sure that he was, you know, whatever success that he had, whatever, you know, status that he was able to build up, he was able to consistently being able to make sure that that person is sustainable and that he's able to show up. So you got to have those two sides of you. You got to have that kind of like dog mentality that's just like, you know, for example, I'm just hopping on, I'm getting on lives, I'm making things happen. And then I have another side of me that's kind of more, you know, the Devin Canup side of me that's more of just applying myself and making sure that like things are consistent, that things are going in the right direction, that I am not just wasting all this attention and all this time that I put into things, and more so making sure that it goes in the right direction and making sure that the marketplace sees the value that I have. So you got to kind of, in some factors, you know, let's say that you're trying to start off like a drink brand, you got to have a part of you that's trying to get into the right rooms. You have a part of you that's getting the attention, that's getting the market share, that's getting the marketing. Like Jay Shetty, he started off with a podcast, and then now he has a podcast, now he's able to drop brands. It can apply to anything, like Mountain Valley water, or, you know, cigars. Padron cigars. There had to be a part of them that's getting the attention, and then there's the other part of them that's like landing the business deals, making sure that things are set up, and then even within inside of the company, you have, you know, the operations people of making sure that the supply is strong and that's going well, or then other parts of them that's making sure the finances are good and that accounting, and you're able to make payroll, and you're also able to do, you know, invest the money into the right direction that the business needs to go. So every person, you know, it's like Jay-Z said, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. And the thing is when you break that down, is he himself became a business. He made Jay-Z the business. And that attention from that brand that he was able to build, he was able to leverage that and get into the right rooms and to be able to strike the deals and to make all the money. So the main thing is just like, how do you generate value in the marketplace? Is you got to know your worth. You have to know that you're freaking worth something. So you got to put in the work, do the actions, have the goal that you're working towards, and then you also have to train yourself on knowing what your worth is. For me, a long time, I was able to develop the skill sets. Like, I was working really fucking hard. I was working my ass off to, you know, generate lots of views and get lots of attention and stuff. But I would start to kind of reach like a threshold consistently. You know, I'd make like $4,000 a month, and I would drop back down immediately because either I would go spend all the money, or I didn't feel like I was worthy of making that money. And I would kind of constantly go through these cycles, and it's happened to me many, many times. It's just gone to bigger and bigger cycles and bigger stages of my life. You know, then I got to $10,000, $30,000 a month, and I just, you know, when I first made $42,000 in a month, I didn't feel like I was really, you know, deserving of that. And shortly after, I went back down to where I was making like $10,000 a month. It's just, you know, my barometer, my internal kind of thermostat regulated me at that temperature, and they call it actually RAS, reticular activating system. So my RAS was kind of wired towards, you know, being around $5,000 a month, and it was around $10,000 a month. Then it was around, I was stuck at like $30,000 a month for like a good year and a half or so. And then, you know, now it's like between, like, I'm kind of stuck around $150,000, $200,000 a month. I've hit some higher numbers, 350,000, and, you know, my internal regulating system kind of brings me back down to, you know, this $150,000 a month level. And so I have to actively, you know, try to tell myself and work towards, you know, not in some bullshit, you know, manifestation and you know, like visualization thing, but more so like I have to constantly tell myself that, you know, I am capable of being this person of reaching these higher heights and becoming, you know, that I am somebody that is worthwhile or valuable enough to be able to make millions of dollars. If you don't do manifestation, how do you go about getting that mindset? So, hope you're doing well, Carrie. I saw your win that you posted in the community in the Faces Channel Academy earlier. Congrats on that. That's pretty awesome. But, you know, how do you go about getting that mindset? I would say a lot of it, I think if I were to break it down, part of it was studying people that have had lots of success, or people that have gotten like really wealthy or really rich, you know, whether it be people like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, or, you know, a lot of billionaires and just people that have become millionaires. And a lot of it was just kind of like, for me, realizing that they were like no different than me. Maybe they had like, you know, I would find people that had similar backstories that had like some crazy success. And the more that I kind of listened to them, and the more that I, you know, just kind of like study their approach. Like I would listen, like I would even like adapt like how they talk. I kind of started talking like them. How they dress, I would dress like them. How they would go about their business practices, like at least that I could see publicly, I would do the exact same things. And I would kind of just constantly, you know, just try to pretend to be that person, as weird as that sounds. Like I would just try to, you know, put myself into their shoes and do life as they do it. And because they were a higher status or a higher value person, slowly over time, because I started to become more like that person, I was able to then, like when I was into, you know, positions that really mattered, where I had to negotiate deals, or I had to, you know, negotiate deals with freelancers, hiring people, choosing which opportunities for me to chase after, I was making the decisions through the lens of this other person that is already making millions of dollars, and going through the exact same kind of like mindset and approach. And I was then finding myself making the best decisions. I was able to kind of know my value, know my worth, because I just, you know, I lied to myself enough that I was like this successful person, that eventually it became my reality, and I eventually just became this person. So I would say a lot of it was just kind of like, you know, I think, you know, manifestation, like I do believe in that stuff a little bit, but it's like you need to have something that's kind of like a baseline that you're able to, you know, put yourself, like you need some sort of realized like real thing that's in this world right now that you're able to start pretending to be, or at least, telling yourself that you're that person, then eventually, you start making the same decisions they would make. You'd start kind of making the same decisions. So I would study all sorts of people, like from Charlie Munger to Warren Buffett to Jeff Bezos to Elon Musk to Sam Walton. That was, Sam Walton's a good one. He like wrote a book. It's like Made in America. He wrote this book on his deathbed, writing out the exact blueprint that he did to create Walmart, the $1 billion, just company that was just destroying the marketplace. And then, yeah, I'm trying to think what else. And then a lot of it too was just I would put myself in those environments. So a lot of it, like, I'll be honest, I would make, let's say, $4,000, and then I would go rent a Lamborghini or go stay at some hotel that was $1,000 a night, or like the Lamborghinis, they're like, I would pay $1,000 a day to go drive this car for 2 days, and I would just kind of like allow myself to, kind of live that lifestyle for a day or two. And just being in that environment or being in that place, I was able to really, I felt like I realized I was the person instead of somebody else being the person. And me being the person, I was able to kind of the experience. I am the person that's, this thing that I always kind of looked up to. Like, I'll go to, like, there's a lot of beautiful hotels like around here, from like there's like a Ritz-Carlton, and there's like, these just beautiful expensive resorts, and I would go, be in those places. I would spend the money to be in those environments. And me being there, I would just kind of trick myself to being like, oh, I am able to do this. And even if it was for one night, you hear people all the time say this, actually. Like, who's the guy from Steve Harvey talks about it. Steve Harvey, the guy that's on The Price is Right. That guy would just always, just spend all of his money onto putting himself into his environment or into his rooms or into these places. And you do it enough times and you start to kind of like feel that, like, you start seeing the world differently. I would go stay at these places that, like, I'd go stay at a night in some house that was worth like $4 or $5 million, and I would just start kind of viewing the world differently. Like, I just started becoming that person. And even if it was like one day out of the month, I would just constantly try to like do that one day out of the month, and doing that would really, rewire my brain to start thinking like I am this person. So Devin, tag me with another. Yeah, should probably this one real quick, guys. Nothing really to do with the conversation. Yeah, Lucia, just reach out to Adam. Okay, so let's check out Instagram. A few questions here. Looks like. Yeah, what's your question? Does YouTube automation have a future? Yeah, I mean, there's this law of, I forget. Someone told me what this law was the other day. He who was it? Oh yeah, I was on a call with this guy that's a marketer at a company that does $50 million a year. They just started up like 4 or 5 years ago, and they're making $50 million a year. And he was telling me there's this kind of philosophy that, let's say that, for example, YouTube's been in business for 20 years now, or 19 years. It was like the first video was uploaded 19 years ago onto YouTube. That was the first video that ever went up. And you could predict, as a betting man, that, let's say they're at the peak of their success, that YouTube has at least another 19 years that they're going to be in success. So it's like, the longer something is, you have predictability that they're going to be at least double the amount of time that they're still going to be in business at the minimum. That's, kind of the law there. So, for example, Rolex, I don't know how long Rolex has been around. Let's see, how long has Rolex? So Rolex has been around since 1905. So if you're to take a look at that, and let's say, they're still in the growth phase, you could predict that Rolex will at least be around for another, whatever that is, 110 years or whatever the math comes out to, or 120 years. So if it's already been around for 120 years, then we could predict that Rolex will at least be around until like 21, like in the 22nd century, essentially. So that's the same exact approach that I have with YouTube, is just, they've been around for at least 19 years, so I would predict at least they have another 19 years to go. So the longer that they're, dominating markets, the longer that they're growing, the longer that their half-life is, or until they're gonna eventually kind of fall apart. So I forget the exact name for the law. Someone can look it up and tell me the exact name, but someone was teaching me this the other day. And as we were talking about earlier, learn information and apply it. So that was one of them. I didn't apply soon enough, but I still kind of remember it, and I can kind of teach it to you guys. And that's, you always want to try to learn stuff and go ahead and apply it.